finance bill. Reject the finance bill. Reject the finance bill. Reject the finance bill. Reject the finance bill.
Let's give him a round of applause for expressing himself.
They're shouting right now, Ruto must go. They have largely organized on social media, many of them Gen Z, young people as young as 18 protesting for the first time, disillusioned with his government.
We are in a mess, so we are trying to straighten up things. We don't have the easy way. It's just Gen Z power and power for the people.
Ruto, you must resign. You must resign.
Today I am joined by my brother, my Kenyan brother, Koganda. I met him on a Twitter space. He was telling his story about an incident that took place this weekend. And being that we have a platform, I said to him, you're welcome to come to Kumbukeni and tell your story so that more of our brothers and sisters can know exactly what is happening. So the name is Nduku. I am the host on Kumbukeni. Welcome, asanteni, and please share this video. The goal is to get this information out because the more people know what is happening, the less these criminals can hide behind the misinfo or lack of information. Brother Koganda, go ahead and let the people know who you are.
Okay, thanks Nduku, and thanks to Kumbukeni for hosting me. It's a pleasure. It's my first actually time being hosted in such a forum, and I'm here to also share my story and share my thought when it comes to Kenyan politics and just the way forward for Kenyan youth and the new generation of.
Just be a little louder, Koganda. You can be a little louder. Mm-hmm.
Thanks. I'll just repeat myself. Thanks for the invite. It's a pleasure being here. And my name is Koganda Collins. I'm a Kenyan, currently in Kenya, businessman and parent also, a new father of one, and passionate about politics and passionate about governance in the country, and generally how things happen in the country. So that's just me in a nutshell.
Yes. So, and don't worry about the background noise. This is the life we are living, right? We are managing, raising our families and serving our communities. So what is it that you're actually demanding, Koganda? What is it that your activism currently is focused on?
My activism is focused on the role of the church, role of church when it comes to governing and just overseeing what is happening in the country. I don't know how to put it, but just the role of the church to look after vulnerable citizens. So the church, as I was brought up, the church used to be the voice of the voiceless. So in recent past, the church has not played its role, and it's high time we awaken the spirit that used to be of churches back then.
I agree. Okay, what are the key points you would like churches to focus on? You are requesting 20-minute sessions from the churches. So what are the key points that you want for them to focus on in these 20 minutes that you're requesting for?
I'm requesting for church to give the same audience to youth and to educate on importance of ethical voting. Kenya is divided on ethical voting most of the time when it comes to election period, and the effect is felt after the election period is over. People vote based on who this is a person of my tribe, or this is a person of my family and all that. But at the end of the day, it's all about them. It's all about the political class. When they regroup together, they all speak one language and they forget about people who are back in the village. And this is something that, as a people, we need to change. So the 20 minutes, we've seen that in the country, the church gives a lot of airtime to politicians to to basically corrupt, I would say corrupt the mind of the vulnerable. They use a lot of hours on church, yet the church should not be that the pulpit should not be a place where politics is being spewed, and they go to an extent of even using vulgar words. An example is
Oh.
yes, was it on Sunday when
Mhm.
Kimani Ichung'wah was referring to the deputy president as the snake. He was telling the president to shake off the snake, and those are some of what annoys me as a youth, because that
Mhm.
is not how I was raised. That is not the church that I used to know. The church of Dingi Mwananzeki, the church of Timothy Joya that I
Mhm.
used to know. Some of them actually I did. Some of these church bishops or reverends, I didn't know them. They were there before I was born. But whatever they did still sticks on. Their deeds still follow them up to now, unlike the church that we have now. Yes.
Yeah. So, what inspired you to make this bold call for churches in Kenya to educate and empower citizens on informing
Um,
voting and ethical leadership?
as I said, when politicians are given platform, it all revolves around politics and politicians. When
Mhm.
politicians are given mics to speak in front of congregants, what they basically do is to corrupt,
Yeah.
and they take advantage that most of us, or most of the people, most of the population in Kenya are not learned, and whatever they are told, whatever information they are sold to, that is what they buy. So, and they take advantage of the church because the church is the only place they would get such a forum
Mhm.
to corrupt mind. And funerals, we also associate funerals with the church, where uh, uh, we have funerals and bishops come and reverends come. So that is a platform for a good platform for the politicians, and that is
Mhm.
where I have a problem. If it's a funeral, it should be a tribute to the dead and probably to the family, not past that where you sell agenda that suits you as a politician.
Yes, I
So
agree
I,
with you. Uh-huh.
so the on the items that I was asking from the church was 20 minutes. If they would take 20 minutes of their time, just 20 minutes, educate the
Mhm.
masses and tell the masses that you should vote someone who's right, someone who is not corrupt,
Yes.
and just give advantages of voting someone not based on their ethical grounds or ethical backgrounds or who
Mhm.
they know. Just vote someone because you know he will stand in for you. Something that has been missing for quite a long time. Yes. So 20 minutes for me is enough. You don't need
Yeah.
to dwell much, but just tell it to the vulnerable.
Mhm.
And this was to be done not only in All Saints Cathedral, but this was a request that it should be done actually in the villages, because that
Yes.
is where the problem comes. That is where the problem comes. I work as a project manager in a construction site,
Mhm.
and I have workers we work with, and sometimes we just share light moments. And during elections, what came out of them was how employees would tell you that as long as someone gives me 200 shillings, I'll give them my
Yeah.
vote. And they don't understand the impact of this.
Yes.
And now some of them come and tell me that ah, I wish I'll just vote for someone who's right, even if he didn't give me money. Now the
Yeah.
effect is felt. The effect is felt after a very long period. After you sold your vote, you gave someone your vote, and now they're in the office, and now they do whatever they want because they have to recover back their money, the money that they gave you. Nothing comes for free. Nobody
Mhm.
wakes up and goes and takes money and gives it to you for free. They
Mhm.
don't have interest. uh,
Mhm.
and now it's pay time, because now most of the employees that I know actually are laid off. I work, as I said, I work for a company, and we used
Yes.
to employ about 6,000 employees. Currently, we have it was a big company for different projects.
Mhm.
Currently, we have about 1,000, if I'm not wrong. employees.
So they dropped
because now
5,000 employees.
yes, most of the projects stalled. Most of the projects stalled because the economy is not doing well, and
Yes.
that all goes back to the church.
Yes.
It all goes back to the church because that is where it started.
Yes.
And another reason why they started the movement is because the church or the government, the current government that we have now, is in power because of the church. Part of the church. It would be wrong to summarize the church as a whole, but part of the church who are majority who voted for the current government, and now most of them actually feeling the heat. You see, so everything about politics boils back down to the church. If
Yes.
the church is able to educate people who come to church and the congregants, then all these things would not have a problem with them.
And you're basically saying, if you're going to give politicians an hour to say all this, why can't you give us just 20 minutes? Make it fair.
Yes, make it fair.
Yes,
Make it
right?
fair.
Yeah.
Make it fair. Yes.
But I agree with you on an even, go ahead.
So go ahead, please.
I agree with you on an even deeper level as far as the church's role in enabling the state of our governance today. I believe, and we were talking about this with our comrades, Seremani, and our sister that joined us on Sunday, that the church is a tool of laundering. This is where the politicians are laundering their corrupt money. The money that they get from their corruption, they're laundering it here. For whatever reason, because the churches are not going to be audited, or because they want it to seem like to the congregation, right, that they are such good people they give to the church, so that it can clean that badness of the money that they are stealing. But the church leaders know exactly where the money is coming from. They're not innocent. They know exactly where the money is coming from. So let's go to the story of Sunday. You went, first of all, let's come to that later. Let's talk about Sunday. You went to All Saints Cathedral. What happened? Tell us that story. First of all, how you decided you're going to go to All Saints. You get there, and All Saints, for those of you who are listening, who are not familiar, All Saints is a huge church in Kenya, and usually a lot of expatriates, diplomats attend that church because its class status, I should say. It is a perfect place for the elite to mingle and not feel like they are being reduced to a standard that they don't want to. So this is where the elites and the who's who are in Kenya are going to church. So All Saints Cathedral, what exactly happened?
I remember it's something that I had been planning to do, but I didn't expect it to go to that extent. Mine was just to pass a simple message, which I'm entitled to as a Kenyan citizen. I'm a believer of church as a place where I can find refuge. A place, if I have a problem, I can just go there and talk my problem out. That's literally what a church or a place of worship should be like. That's what Jamia Mosque offered when you were during Maandamano period. That's what a place of worship is known for. So it was not specifically for, as in to be done at All Saints Cathedral. I would have done it in any church. That's the first thing. But again, I was brought up as an Anglican, so I thought it's only wise. It's only wise for me to start it with my own home church, which All Saints Cathedral is an Anglican church. So when I woke up that day on Sunday in the morning, and I had my placard, it was something that had been eating me up. Me being an active citizen and not seeing things go right, and seeing that the problem is the church, because the church is the one that installed this current government. Not whole body of church, but part of church. But All Saints Cathedral still falls under the group of churches. So I said, let me start with my church. So I went, drove, woke up in the morning, told my wife I'm leaving, it's not going to be easy. I'd already told her that something is eating me up, and I don't like it. I don't like the fact that the church is quiet when things are not going right. Like the issues of in Russia, the church has not actually stood and showed their stand as a church, as a group, not different groups of churches, just as a church, as one body, and said, this is not right. 21 kids can't go missing, and nobody's talking about it. So I said, no, it's not right, and it doesn't sit well with me. And as a citizen and someone who is construction, I believe that when a building starts, someone would bring stones, cement, steel. Before you see a building, things are actually assembled, right?
Yes.
So I said I need to do my bit. I need to do my bit as a citizen, so that at least when history would judge us, then at least I would be judged right for playing the little part that I had. Just as Wangari Maathai said with the story of the hummingbird, like don't wait for a cold truck of to come and quench fire. Like just do the small that you can. So I said, okay. And my kid was still asleep, and then drove all the way to All Saints Cathedral. Entering, I had like a few flyers, like around 10. So I gave one to the choir, and then they turned me down and then said, no, we're not responsible for this. If you want anything to do with this, then talk to the provost. So it's like, can I talk to the provost? It's called Okelo, Evans Okelo. He's a very good man, actually. So I said, can I talk to him? And he's like, I think he's holding the mass. So maybe unless you wait until he's done. But in the meantime, like we can't. There's nothing we can do. So I was like, you know what? Do I have to wait? And again, I'm not. Sikuwa nimejihami. Like I was not there. Like I was not endangering anybody's life. I was not armed, in short. So I said the only thing I had that I always have with myself anywhere I go is my flag. I always carry my flag anywhere. I really love my country. So because it's a duty to definitely to love your country. It's the only place you know. So I took my flag out. I had a sling bag, removed my flag, and then carried the placard. The placard was just a request telling people that telling the church that as much as just the same way they give politicians airtime to spew whatever they want and corrupt minds of the vulnerable, they should also give 20 minutes time to educate the masses on importance of ethical voting. Because bad leadership at the end of the day affects everybody.
Yes.
Whether you're rich or poor, it will affect you, because if I'm poor and you're rich, I'll mug you. Right?
Exactly.
That's how I believe it's related. So if the gap between the rich and the poor is huge, then I'll definitely mug you. I work actually not around, but I work in a suburban area where the rich stays. And it's the other side is Marari.
Yep.
So definitely I work in Mutaika. And there's a lot of the two classes of people. So I'm trying to assume if the difference between the rich and the poor is huge because of bad leadership, then definitely it's going to affect you. Someone would come, tell you because they've slept hungry and you're driving a very big car, and they will kill you because they needed maybe 100 shillings.
Yeah.
Because of 100 shillings, someone has to die. So you'd say probably you blame that person who killed you, but you're the problem because you did not raise the issues that you're supposed to raise and stand with the poor. So definitely bad leadership affects everybody across. So I raised my placard, and my flag. And one of the plainclothes guards, I was told he used to work for he's an ex-military. So he comes
Was
and
he
asks me,
inside
how are
the
you?
church?
Like, I'm fine.
Was he inside the church or outside the church?
No, no, whatever, everything that happened was outside the church, but within the church compound.
Okay.
Like, I believe I believe I was raised well to understand that as much as I want to air my grievances, then I also don't need to disrupt other people's like program.
We were talking about, you were saying about the, you're going to, or you're being bothered by what's happening. You're not seeing the churches speaking up about what the Kenyan government is doing, abductions, killing. And you've been a Christian and you know that this is the role of the church, but they're not doing this. So it bothers you. You let your wife know that you're leaving and you decide to go to All Saints Cathedral. You are outside the church. You speak to the choir members and try to give them your flyers. They say it is not their responsibility. What is happening is not their responsibility. You need to speak to the provost. You ask to speak to him, but you're told that he's getting ready for the service and therefore you cannot speak to him. At this point, a gentleman approaches you. You're referring to him as a plain clothes policeman. So this is where we are. Please continue. Mm-hmm.
So a plainclothes police, call him police because he had like this figure of police with an earphone, the police earphone.
But did he have
a
a
gun.
badge
So he
or
comes.
anything else?
No, he didn't have a badge, but what he was branding was a pistol in the coat.
So
He had
nothing
like,
else to identify
yes,
him but a pistol and his demeanor.
yes, and
Okay.
yeah. So he comes and asks me, what is this you're doing? And I'm like, nothing, which is bad. And I asked him, if you can read, then it would be even better. So he reads, and then he tells me, you can't do that here. And I'll ask him why. It's just it's an information that is not targeting any individual. It's just a request. So it's either the church accepts or not. But it's just a message that I'm passing. I'm not attacking the political class, and I'm not attacking the church. Just asking the church if it can dedicate 20 minutes. That's all we ask, to educate the masses, the vulnerable masses that the politicians actually take advantage of. So he tells me, no, you can't do that. And then before I know, he was well built, way well built than me. So he grabs the placard and
Did he say why you couldn't do it?
No, he was just saying you can't do that here. That was his reason. That was his reason. You can't do it here.
And just to let everyone who's listening know, the Kenyan Constitution allows for freedom of expression, access to information, the right to petition. Those are provisions within the Kenyan Constitution. So you have the right to hold the government accountable. You have the right to monitor, actively monitor. It literally says actively monitor and criticize government actions and hold officials responsible for their decisions. So go on.
So he grabs my flyer and folds it and tells me, leave. You're not supposed to be here. And I'm like, what? Why should I not be here? Like, this is a church. It's not like like a golf club, you see, where I have to go with a membership card. Yes. So he's like, no, we should not argue. And if you're not going to do that, then it would be harsh for you. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So temperatures start getting high, and before I know, he takes my flyer, throws it to some station where they had like they were giving out flyers for the church. So I go there and tell the ladies and actually a youth who was standing there, are you listening?
Yes.
So I tell the youth who was there, I tell him, please give me the flyer because there's nothing wrong that I've done. Get me the flyer. And then what he tells me is like, you are an attention seeker. Those were his words. Like, bro, and then I tell him, bro, you are a youth and you can read whatever I've written. It's nothing to do with attention. It's everything to do with leadership. And if you think this is attention seeking, then it's not really. That is something that should not have actually come from me. So I went, take the flyer again, and raise it. And then now the guy comes and tells me, "Oh, I've handled you diplomatically. Now, diplomacy ends here." So he tries to take flag from my neck, and then I'm telling him like, "No, you don't do this." And then he tells me, "If you want, you wait until the provost is out. We are having a mass for the judiciary officials and ambassadors." Those were his words. So he tells me we are having a mass for judiciary officials, ambassadors, and ministers who are coming today. So the last thing we want is any disruption. And like where I'm standing is far away from the church, so I'm not causing any disruption.
Yes.
And then a little bit commotion happens there, and then I'm like, no, you know what? I'm also endangering my life because I'm all alone here, and something might happen. So what I do is I take my flag. By then he's taken the flyer, so I take my flag, put it inside my sling bag, and I just said, you know what? Probably this is not going to work as I planned. So let me just go to the church since I'm here. Let me just go to the church, listen, wait for the provost. When the service is done, I might as well talk to him. So when I'm headed now to enter the church,
Yes.
the guy signals the church has like a security what do you call it, like a security team, private security team. So
Yes.
he signals this private security team not to allow me get in, and then I tell him, bro, I don't have any problem, just let me go, listen to the word of God, and then when the provost is out, I'll
So he's not letting you even go to church. You've said you're not going to. You've taken his advice. He's advising you to wait for the provost to finish. You're cooperating. You say, okay, I'm going to go inside and listen to the service, and then when he comes out, I'll speak to him. This is what you say. But at this point, you're saying he's not
yes,
letting you go either way. So he signals the private security. Go on.
so he signals the private security not to allow me get inside the church. And I'm like, bro, don't do this. I've listened to whatever you've said, and I'll wait until the church service is over, and I'll talk to the provost and share with him whatever I came to share. And he's like, no, you're not doing that. So he tells me, he tries to pull me with my sling bag. And then I'm like, no, you're not doing that. Please stop this scene you're trying to cause. Please just stop it. And then he's like, no, now we are going to handle you like a criminal. So he signals the police, the armed police. That day there was a, I think there was a high event, like high diplomat, let me call it like VIP event. So there were so many police, plainclothes, dog unit, literally all the police units, APs were there. So he tells me, he pulls me towards a corner, and then I'm like, no, I'm not going there. I don't know what you're going to do now with the era of guys disappearing and all that. So I tell him, no, I'm not going to do that.
So you're
So he
saying this
tells me,
you're saying that this plain clothes individual, right? You assume that he is police at this point, given your interaction with him. He's acting like police. He hasn't shown you a badge. He's not telling you who he is with, but he has a gun on the side of his on his pants on his side. He's telling you now
yes,
to move to a different corner outside. Yes, where there are less
yes.
people.
Kind of less people, but it's still within. The last thing I want to do is lie about this interview. I just want us. I
Yes.
want
No,
to
no,
put
no.
it as
I'm
it
glad.
was.
I'm glad. Yes, I'm glad you're telling the truth.
So he pulls me there, and then I refuse, and then I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to where you're telling me. It's either get in the church, wait for the provost, or we stand here where everybody's seeing me. So before I know, he signals the police, the armed police now with the uniform. So the police comes, two of them. Then he tells the police that this man is causing a scene here, and we're having guests in the church. We're having mass for uh, for the
Judiciary and
judiciary. Those were
ambassadors.
his terms. The judiciary.
And just
Yes.
quickly, and
Then
just quickly for our people to note, this is a plain clothes, and let me come back quickly. Sorry about that. This is a plain clothes individual who has not identified himself. He has a weapon on him, and he signals the security. And when the security, the church, what you believe is the private security for the church, and he starts telling the story of what it is that you're doing. If those are the private security for the church, shouldn't they already know that the mass is for judiciary and ambassadors? Like, why does he need to tell him we have a mass for? They already know that they're the security for the church. But go on. So he calls them and he's telling them.
so he calls the uniformed police and tells them this guy is causing a scene, and we're not going to allow that. So the guy is like, bro, just listen. The police tells me, just listen to whatever this guy is telling you. Go there. So I'm like, why do I have to go there? Why do I have to go there? There's nothing wrong that I've done. My flag is in my bag. The flyer, he's taken the flyer. So I'm not a threat, and I don't have anything with me that shows that I'm a threat. Because I also understand that there was a threat issue, attack issue issued by the U.S. Embassy on
Of course.
attacks. Yeah, so I also understood the fact that this might be a concern to them. But again, I was just there. If someone is a threat, I believe even if you're not in the security sector, you know this one
Yes.
is a threat or not. Because if probably I wanted to attack someone, I would carry a gun
Yes.
and yeah, something of that sort. But I
You
was
had
not. I just had my sling bag.
weapons on you. Yes. At this point, he's established you have no weapons. He's established that you're willing to cooperate, so you're not a threat. Go on.
Yes. So the police tries to harass me, and one of the private guards. So he tries to harass me, and then I'm like, you know what, that's not happening. So the police tells me that we've stopped handling you diplomatically because diplomacy doesn't work with you right now. So we're going to handle you like any other criminal. And then before I know, pulls a handcuff and locks my hand. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Please stop causing a scene. And then
This
he's
is the
like,
original gentleman, right?
no, they're not now the police.
The real police. Okay.
Remember
Yes.
he had signaled police to come. So the police handcuffs my hands, and um, he makes a radio call and says that, you know what, I think he calls the area boss, the police area boss, and tells him that we have a security threat at the church, and we need a car, the police van. So I'm like, I'm not a threat as you're saying.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you're a threat and you under arrest. Like, under arrest for what? So they're like, you're under arrest. He's not telling me why I'm under arrest. I just learned it from the radio call that he made, that I'm a security threat. So he tells me, let's go to that car. So it's a private car. And I'm like, private car? That's not happening. A private car, I don't know the owner of the car. At least probably if it's a government car, they would be answerable.
Yes.
Nowhere to be seen. So I'm like, I'm not entering anybody's private car. So he started pushing me. Now the AP comes, the AP police comes, and then the dog guys come.
By
It was all a
AP,
scene. And then
you
now
mean?
I'm like,
Mhm.
administration police. They were the all like administration police. The
Yes.
different police units were at the vicinity. The dog unit, the intelligence. I remember
Mm,
I was told several of them. So they come and start pulling me, and then I'm like, now this is I'm going to make part of the statistics of people who disappear.
yeah.
We
Mm,
have 3 already in Kitengela. Probably I might be the 4th one. So
yeah.
I start screaming in the church compound for help, and the rich, I'll call them the rich, or the church members who are there. Nobody's
Yeah.
bothered about whatever is happening. You're a criminal since the police has arrested you. You're the one who's on the wrong.
So you're saying at this point there are people outside with you while you're screaming and you're being forced into a private vehicle and no one is saying anything to stop it.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, they're trying to force me into a private vehicle because by then the police van had not arrived.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, no, I'm not. That is not happening. So the guys are just looking at me, and this is why. This is one of the reasons why up to now, that was not the intention. But if
Mm-hmm.
there was any concerned citizen, they would have seen even a video
Yes.
trending
Yes. Yes.
or
Yes.
going around online. But that was
Mm-hmm.
not the case because everybody was like, you know what, that is not my problem.
Yes.
So let him handle it the way it is. If
On
someone
a
probably is a
Sunday,
concerned citizen,
on a Sunday in a space of Christians who should know better, who are supposed to be like Christ.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought probably if someone, maybe if you not intervene and ask the police what's happening, then probably take a picture
Mm-hmm.
and just in case, because these things, just in case something happens, then you're able to say, oh, Collins was taken by this person and this person and this person.
Yes.
Kindly ask them where Collins is. But I'm sure up to now, probably if they use if maybe I disappeared and probably church didn't have CCTVs, God forbid,
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
nobody would know where I was. Yet the
Yeah.
church was there. Yet the members of the church were there with the latest smartphones
Yeah.
and all the technologies that you imagine. You see,
Mm-hmm.
but nobody was able to intervene and just ask like, "What's happening?" This is a Kenyan with a flag. By then, I'd actually pulled my when they were dragging me on the floor, the church compound road. I'd already pulled my flag out just to also signal that, you know what, I'm harmless. I'm
So
not
they're
under
dragging
surveillance.
you,
I'm not here
they're
to do
dragging
something.
you on the tarmac of the church compound.
Yes, yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
And
So
no
they
one
dragged me.
is
They
saying
dragged me.
anything. No one is screaming. No
Nobody,
one is taking videos. No one is saying anything.
nobody. If
Mm.
there's one, then let them come out. If
Mm.
there's someone, then let them come out.
Mm.
And then they drag me. And then by the time they are dragging me, the police force is there, the area police force is there. And then I try to explain, and they're like, no, you're a threat. Then they bangle me, then take me to the gate, now to the main gate of the church. And then
Yes.
they tell me, walk into the car. And then I'm telling them I'm not walking because there's nothing wrong I've done. I'm not a security threat. And then they're like, you will walk. So by then, I'm seeing so many people with the CIDs. I call them CIDs with suits.
Yes.
Uh, they come, and then now the initial guy who started all this comes and then
Mhm.
tells me, "Wewe utajua, you will know. Next time you come here, you will know." And then to hurt me more, I was handcuffed. So
Yes.
he steps on the handcuffs. You know,
Because
I'm already
you're on
on
the
handcuffs.
ground, right?
Yes, so he steps on the handcuffs because the handcuffs actually tighten. So he steps on the handcuffs so that I'm able to feel the pain. So he steps on the handcuffs on both hands, and I'm like, "You're hurting me, bro. Please don't do this. I've done nothing wrong. Let me go. I've done nothing wrong." So he's like, "No, utasema uko mbele. I told you get out of the church and you didn't listen." So go sort it out. Go sort it at the prison. You'll go to court and you'll be arrested. So they carry me, and my phone is almost falling. I've not told my wife whatever has happened or any of my family member, and I'm worried that I'm going to make part of the statistics because nobody even knows who I am. Nobody's concerned. And then my phone is almost falling, and I'm telling them, please, my phone is falling. I need to call someone, then tell them where I'm going. And then it's like, no, that's not happening. And then they take me. There's a way they like 6 men carry me. They bangle me inside the truck, the pickup. Like they flip me the way you flip.
Like you are a sack of potatoes.
Yes, that is actually what they did. They flipped me, and then I hit my back on the knee. Lucky enough, my phone was still intact, so I'm told to sit. Then I'm driven to Capitol Hill police station there, and then word is everywhere. So every police comes, and who is the activist? Who is the activist? Literally everybody. I think they have a group where
So they know you're an activist, not a criminal. They're actually referring to you as an activist, not a criminal.
Yes, so they refer to me as an activist and tells me, you said that we are not learned. We will show you that we are learned. Now your rights. Actually, the police who arrested me told me that you talk about rights, but now since you're locked, there I was already locked inside. So he tells me, now tell me what right do you have? You don't have a right to move around, right? So your right has actually ended. That is where your right has ended, and you can't fight this government. And then I tell him, I'm not fighting the government. Get me right. I'm not fighting the government. What I'm doing is asking for 20 minutes for time to educate the masses. And that's all. No fighting the government. So it's upon if you're educated and if you're educated on importance of ethical voting, then it's upon you. If you know what is right for you to do and you still don't do it, then it's upon you because you're already educated about it. That's how it went.
Okay, so you are at the police station, and the police are in your face telling you, where are your rights now? You have no rights now. Let's take it from there.
So the police who actually arrested I came with 2 police officers from the church, and one of them is the one who booked me in. So he tells me, you claim you know your rights, and now tell me where your rights are. The only right you have is right to life. You don't have freedom now. Now you can't use your phone. You don't have right to move. That is the only space you have, the space that you the cell, that is.
Yeah.
That is the only space you have. And if
Have
that
they
is what you call,
taken your phone at this point?
yes, my phone, actually they took my phone while in the car because I wanted to call my wife and just tell her, babe, things are not gone, things are gone south. And he took my phone, confiscated my phone from my pocket by then when we were in the truck. So I was like, okay. So when we're at the station, he takes my phone, tells me remove my belt. I'm locked before any other thing. So I'm just there seated. So I meet guys there, and I knew this would happen because I remember during the Mandamano, we were told when you're going as a soldier, when you're going for war, you need to have like someone who should write a number of them, have the number in your pocket. So I had like my father's number, my wife's number, and my best friend's number in my pocket. So because I'm not good with mastering numbers. Yeah, so it was just in my pocket. So when I go there, I tell one of the inmates, please help me with your phone. I'm here, and nobody actually knows I'm here. So I need to tell them that I'm here. So I call my wife and tell my wife that I've been arrested. And she's like, but you told me by 1 we'll be having lunch. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but that's what I had planned, but it's not how it has ended or how it is right now. So I've been arrested and I don't know what will be happening. And then she tells me, Collins, you mean you went to demonstrate with the church again? And there's no words I can tell to her. And I'm like, just know there's no need of asking a lot of questions. I'm arrested. So I call also my best friend and tell him, Mark, I'm arrested. I'm at Capitol Hill. So just in case something happens, just know I'm arrested, and I was arrested at All Saints Cathedral. So he's like, okay. And then now, things like now that is where it requires you to use your brain if you have one. So lucky enough, there was a guy with the smartphone. I think he was also being allowed to talk to a friend.
Yes.
But with the police, just to tell them that he's been arrested. So within that time, I took advantage of that and called and texted a friend in US and told him, bro, I've been arrested.
Yeah.
Please talk to anybody you know online. Just tell them I'm arrested. And then, lucky enough, that was where it was. Because by then, I didn't have a phone. I was just like, I didn't have freedom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So before I know, nothing happens, and I'm there. So my wife calls me with the same number that I'd used. It was like the small Kadudu phone. So he calls. My wife calls back and asks me, and now
Mulika Mwizi.
yes, the Mulika Mwizi. So my father also calls me back. I think my wife called my father, and now literally a few of my family members know where I am. So she takes a taxi and comes just to confirm, because they were really worried that I might be at Capitol Hill, and before I know, I'm taken somewhere else. So she comes to confirm. So before I know, like she's there, and she's like, here to see my husband, and I'm brought out, and she confirms that I'm there. And then she's smart enough. She takes the OB number just in case they say he was never brought here.
Yes.
So a few of my friends come, and I'm not allowed to see them. And just there, because orders from above, I think by then issues were there.
Yeah.
So my brother comes, my elder brother stays in Nairobi. So my elder brother comes, he's also in the forces. So he comes and goes and tries to talk to the OCS. She's a lady. And the OCS tells her, no, this case is everywhere. It's now beyond me. There's nothing I can do with this. This case is everywhere. Your brother went to Holy Family Basilica, so this is something that he does. So and he's been on our radar.
Yes,
so,
of course.
Because that is not the first time he's doing that, and there's nothing we can do. My brother tells them, "Can we do a cash pay?" And then they're like, "No cash pay in this case. There's nothing. My hands are tied. There's nothing I can do. I wish I could help, but my hands are tied. There's nothing I can do until I get orders on what is next." So my brother comes and tells me, "Bro, you have to sleep here today. There's nothing much we can do, so we just have to sleep here, and until tomorrow." We thought maybe we could secure your release either with the police bail, but it's impossible. The OCS has said our hands are tried and there's nothing can be done. So I'm like, okay, I was prepared for that also. Because as a political freedom fighter, I say so, or as an activist, those are some of the things you expect on your line of duty. So he goes, my wife also goes back, and now the police, the new police comes. Where is the activist? We want to see the activist. So I'm just there laughing. So I was actually a celeb within those few minutes. I was a celeb within the cell, because everybody knows, oh, you're the one who was at the Holy Family Basilica the other time in June. Like, I get a few guys who knew me. Some are actually people I know on social media. Like, bro, you were here. So you're the one. You're the activist whose story started. We're all friendly. So at night, the harassment starts, where the police psychologically they torture you. They take you, come and ask you, so who funds you? And then I'm like, nobody funds me. I'm just a solo man.
Mm-hmm.
And then they take you back. And then they come again. And then take your fingerprints.
Mm-hmm.
And then they tell you, you know what, you can you hear me?
Yes.
They tell you, you know, your case is so huge. It's even known by Kindiki. Your case is so huge. Those were their words.
Who
Your
is
case is so
Kimbiki?
huge. Kindiki is the Interior Cabinet Minister.
Mm-hmm.
Cabinet Secretary, Cabinet Secretary for Interior.
Mm-hmm.
So they tell me, you know, your case is even known high there, and there's nothing you can do. So one of the police comes and tells me, I don't know how to help you,
Mm-hmm.
but I've seen your cases going viral online.
Mm-hmm.
And please, usichome, those were his words, usichome zaidi. Because don't say more.
Yeah.
Don't tell the public
It
more.
was.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like usichome zaidi. And I'm like, okay. So some of them who actually were night shift were really friendly to all of us, not only to me. And they were humane, I would say. They would take care of us, bring us water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that night again, they come and take me, and now they go and take the fingerprints.
Mm-hmm.
And then tell me your case is so huge, and now you need a cash bill of 50,000. And I laugh, and I tell them 50,000. Yes. And then now they charge me. I ask them, like, what are my offense?
Yes.
Your offense is what did they write? Causing disturbance in a manner that will cause Nini, I don't know, cause
Unrest.
Unrest, something of that sort, and then felony to commit a crime. That was the second charge. And then I asked
Did you
the
say
guy
threatening to commit a crime?
Yeah, failure to commit a crime, meaning I had already planned because of my the first incident that happened at Holy Family Basilica. So it's something they think that I had planned to come and do. And then I asked the police officer, don't you think what the charges you're putting on me are not right? Or the charges you're charging me are not right? And then he's like, no, you know you're here. You can't dictate what we are charging you with. So I see him writing, shouting, bad governance, bad governance, bad governance. To be honest, those were not my words.
Yes.
At no point did I say bad governance, bad governance. Those were not my words. But I think the intention was to.
But even if they were your words, we have established that the Constitution allows you to say so.
Yes.
So it's not a crime.
Yes.
But go on.
It was not a crime, but I think based on what they believed or what he thought was that would make my case so grave.
Yeah.
I and probably make me look like I'm fighting the government.
Yes.
Which was not. I had the right to do so, but that was not what I was doing on that particular day. To fight government.
And just to remind everyone, you went to the church to say to the church, can you give me 20 minutes to speak to the congregation about responsible citizenship, where you elect leaders who are good and who are going to serve you. Just like you give the time to politicians to spew whatever lies they spew, give me 20 minutes to speak to the people. That's all you were asking.
It was not for me to speak, but it was like a call for them to be allocating time. Them speak to the congregants, not me, but even if they had given me the time, then I would do that. But what I wanted is not only for All Saints Cathedral, but all the churches, because they have an organization, they have a sitting where they sit all of them together. You see? So it was them to sit as a body and say, you know what, we also need to set maybe time and just teach. Start small. I come from that school of thought where I believe Nairobi was not as it is. Any city was not as it is now. It started
Yes.
by building one shop, another 2 floors, you see. So we do not wait until 2027, and
Yeah.
then now we have to start educating the masses.
Yes.
Yet someone
Yeah.
had already made their mind, you see.
Yeah.
So
But
that
if
was
you're
the intention.
but to the church, if you're going to bring politics, why don't you bring responsible politics, right? Why don't
Exactly.
you start
Yes.
teaching the people responsible politics? Okay, go on. Mhm.
Yes. Yes. So that was it, and now the police, back to where I was, the police tells me now you've gone viral, and it's causing a lot of jitters, and I don't know how we're going to sort this out. So in the morning, around 6
Mhm.
6 in the morning, they wake us up. My fingerprints are taken, and then I am read my mistake, my
Mhm.
offense, that is.
Mhm.
And then now they tell me you need a cash bail. They started with 50 yesterday, and now they drop it to 10.
No,
And
don't forget, they started with nothing. Remember when you asked the lady, the OCS, and she said, no, we are not even taking because it's so big. They started with
yes,
zero, and then they went
with
to 50.
zero, and then 50, and then now we started with zero because the matter was out of her hand. She could not handle it, and then later they said 50, and then by then someone from LSK, the vice president of LSK, I think got the wind and came to visit me. Actually, it was the
And that's
first.
the legal services of Kenya. Legal what?
Uh, uh,
I'll get. Don't worry.
LSK,
Don't worry. I'll get.
Law Society
Law
of
Society
Kenya.
of Kenya. Yes, go on. Sorry.
Yes, and they're such a fantastic people. So
Mm-hmm.
he was the first person to come, and let me just get something here.
Okay. And just while Koganda gets that, for those of you who are listening, the Legal Society of Kenya has been doing a great job advocating for those whose rights have been violated. And this is exactly what this is, by the way. Make no mistake, this is not a legitimate arrest. And we're going to talk about the gentleman at the church who had no identification to prove that he was a police officer and only had a weapon and threats and completely violated Koganda's rights, arresting him for no good reason. So, Law Society of Kenya has been following up and advocating and holding the government accountable and defending people who are being arrested for just various reasons. Go on, Kuganda.
So Mr. Maura Kabata was the first person. He's the vice president of LSK, Law Society of Kenya. They actually stand in for people whose rights are being violated. And
Yes.
to be honest, I thank him for being there. He was the first person who like non-member of my family who came to visit.
Yes.
And he talked to the OCS, and the OCS was like, no, that's on Sunday. That's on Sunday. Let me just take it back. That was on Sunday. So he was the first person to come, non-family member. And then he tells me, I brief him and tell him, oh, I've been told they can't handle this. And then he goes and talks to the OCS, and think the OCS explains to him that this is beyond her now. So he comes and tells me, you know what, Collins,
For clarity, the incident at the church was on Saturday. The service was on Saturday. The service was on Sunday. And
yes, I was arrested by around 10 in the morning.
And so now on Monday, a member of the vice president of the Law Society of Kenya is there now.
As I said, I'm taking you back. Like he came on Sunday evening. He came on Sunday evening after my arrest info had gone viral.
Okay.
So he comes and talks to the OCS if I can be released, because according to him, there were no charges.
Yes.
Like whatever I did, the complainant was not there. All the complainant were police, not even the church. So after talking to the OCS, I don't know what they agreed, but he just told me the OCS has told her that it's beyond her now, and there's nothing much we could do. We also tried calling a few colleagues from LSK. I think it's because of Sunday, so many of them were not in the office.
Yes.
So he just told me, you have to be here, but tomorrow in the morning you'll be presented in court, and don't pay anything because there's no crime you've done. Don't pay anything. not even a single cent. So it tells me, keep me posted just in case something happens, just keep me posted. So I'm like, okay. So a few groups also come, the human rights defender, social justice. Those are some groups that I really appreciate them for showing up. So human rights defender group comes and with a bail
Yeah.
money.
And just so
And
that, quick pause there, just so that those who are listening understand this advice by Mwaura, the Vice President of the Law Society of Kenya, is very important. Do not pay anything. Because people don't understand that, as innocent as it seems to pay that, whatever charges they're telling you, you're literally, it's an admission of guilt if you pay. It is a form of an admission of guilt. But like he said to you, you hadn't committed any crime, so don't pay anything. Go on.
so, as I mentioned, a few groups also came, human rights defender and social justice. These are a few groups that I actually had interacted with during Bandamano period.
Okay.
So they come through for me and they try to bail me out, but under instructions of LSK, I told no, you're not paying that. That money, if that money has to be used, then that money has to be used on the right course. We still need that money for people probably later.
Good for you.
Later
Yes.
would come. So for now, Collins is not being charged. The charge sheet doesn't make sense. There's nothing on. There's no case there.
Yeah.
So he tells me you just have to sleep here. So I sleep, and then now on Monday, which was yesterday, they come read people who are going to the court, like read the list of people who are going to the court, and I miss on the list. So I asked the OCS, please, am I going to the court or not? And the OCS tells me that, relax, why are you in a rush to go to court? I'm like, no, because I'm not supposed to be here. If other guys are also going to court, I'm supposed to be presented in a court of law and charged if there's any crime that I'd committed.
Yes.
And then she's like, no, you're not going. So by then I also get a few...
Quickly, for people who are claiming to be educated, they're displaying quite lack of intelligence. But go on, that was just me. Why are you in a rush to court? I want to get back to my family. Hello?
Yes, because actually I'm also, I have a family that looks up to me. Not only my immediate family, but my father looks up to me. My sisters and a few employees who I work with actually look up to me. So I'm like, I need to finish this. If I have to be charged, then let me be charged, and I go back to work. So they're like, no. So by then I'd made a few friends with the police. Police is your friend. So I made a few friends with the police, and they were actually updating me on what was happening, and they were telling me, oh, a few guys are actually at the court waiting for you. There's Kenyan youths, people who believe in change, people who want a new Kenya, actually at the court and waiting for you, and that is probably why they're delaying. So he gives me a heads up and just tells me, you know what, you just need to have your family members, one of them around here, because you might think, because most of them were actually in the Milimani Law Court. And he told me that might be a trick. He also was not sure about the info. So he told me that might be a trick. They might tell them you're being taken to Milimani.
Yes.
Yes. And maybe they take you to Kajiado. And Maura was back by then. That is on Monday now. Maura was back and asked Maura what's happening. And then Maura told me, these guys know that they can't charge you.
Yeah.
There's literally no case here. So what they're trying to do is just to intimidate you because of orders from above. I don't know which orders for which office it was from, just to waste your time. But at the end of the day, either they change the charge sheet, which they don't think it's going to work, because there's no crime that I did. The complainant has not, since I've not lodged any complaint, so they can't. And there's no property that I've damaged. There's no person that I've hurt. You see, so literally there's nothing. There's no case. So my wife is outside there. I was lucky enough to tell her, just wait in case they decide to take me to another place. Then you'd be able to tell LSK what's happening. So that's around 10. The batch that was going to court has already been taken to court, and I'm there. And then before I know, Kabata is back again with the OCS and telling them that, you know what, you have to present him to court or release him.
Yes.
Yes, because you detain him here illegally.
Mm-hmm.
And then now the deputy OCS comes and tells me, "You've not gotten any cash paid." I'm like, "I don't have money, and I'm not paying anything."
Yes.
Because I literally, there's nothing I've done, so I can't give you money for bail, because that would be almost tantamount to giving bribe.
Yes. Yes.
So, like, those are some of the things we're trying to fight.
Yes.
And me giving you money as a cash bail, I know legally cash bail is allowed. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, so I tell him, no, I tell him I can't pay anything. And then now he tells me, those were his words. And then he tells me, now let's talk as men. How much do you have? And then I tell him, I don't have a single cent. So release me or take me to court. Those are the only options. So he tells me, kijana uko na kichwa ngumu, which means you really tapeted.
Stubborn.
You know who you, because LSK is here now, you think you know your rights. And then he leaves me. So before I know, Kabata tells me, you're being released. And then they sign me out, and then tells me, go and take your stuff and leave here, Bana. And yes, that's how it happened. And I was happy. I was happy to be out. I was happy for Kenyan standing with me. That's the most important thing, because if it's not for Kenyans, then probably I would have disappeared.
As our brother's signal comes back on, I want you all to realize this, that he's making a great point there. That activism, that joint large mass of people who came to support him, those people who went to the court, those people who, when he reached out to the friend in the US that he reached out to and asked to and told that he was arrested and asked to support. If that friend did not go and make this go viral, those people who liked online, I'm trying to explain to all of you how you can participate in helping what is going on in Kenya. When you make this viral, they get scared. When you show up in court in masses to support those who have been arrested, they get scared. As you can see, it is the pressure that put the police in a position where they had no choice but to release our brother Koganda. And also the Legal Society of Kenya's participation too. The fact that they know law, the fact that they are a legit entity that is telling them you have no charges. The church itself, All Saints Cathedral, has not filed a complaint against the man. So who are you to hold him? What are you holding him for? So that's very important to those of you who are asking, what can I do to help? Go on, Koganda.
So, after a few, Kabata tells me you're being released. And I'm released. So the police are telling me, oh, so you know, even the president and the vice president of LSK, that is why you sounded like you know what's happening. And I was like, no, if I'm shielded by the Constitution. See, I didn't do anything wrong. And that is why the Constitution is there, to protect vulnerable people like me. Assume the Constitution was not there, then I don't know what would have happened. Probably I would have not even existed by now. And it made me think and appreciate Kenyans a lot, and the power of online activism. It really works. If you doubt, it really works because of social media activism. What the finance bill was down because of social media activism. A lot of things have happened. The Adani, we're hopeful that the Adani issue will be out, and because of social media activism, I was out. I would actually attribute it to that, because I know how Kenyan police sometimes are. They can take advantage of someone's situation also when they know that
You're
you
misinformed,
don't,
have no support.
you're misinformed and you don't know anything to do with law, or you don't know someone who can stand in for you. But I was lucky enough because of social media. That's one thing I would say. You don't like don't disregard your tweets, or don't say if I don't tweet, if I don't post, then nothing would happen. Something happens. That's one thing I came to learn. Yeah. So social media is a very powerful tool, and actually, the political class, I'm 100% sure they're sitting somewhere. Maybe they're having a cup of coffee and thinking of how to curtail this, because it's going to be a game changer in this coming election. A lot,
Yeah.
a lot of misinformation. We're going to discontract, a lot of information. If you come to us with lies, then we'll discontract you and tell you, no, that is not right. Whatever you're saying is not right, because everything is on social media. We're able to prove if you're saying something which is right. We're able to go back and check and say, no, this is right or this is not right. Yes.
This is a very fitting moment to point out your original goal, which is to get 20 minutes in church dedicated to informing the congregation politically on political responsibility, on how to select good leaders, just civic education in church. If you're going to allow politicians to come and spew their politics in church, then allow for civic education. And it's important because if the church is telling its congregation how, when they are arrested with no charges or no reason, how to get out of it, then the congregation is informed. Again, you knowing that is one of the things that helped you get out. And you're asking for more Kenyans to be given the opportunity to know that as well. So it's a sweet moment at this point where we're like, clearly the brother's request is needed. Clearly the church, if you claim to be Christian, in other words, so that we stop, sometimes we use words so much we forget the value of them. To say I am Christian means that I am following Christ. I am living in the way of Christ. Those of you who have read the Bible and who still believe in it, and like some of us who have abandoned it already, remember what Christ did, right? You all remember what Christ did. Christ did not advocate for law enforcement to go to the church and arrest the people who wanted to go in and just express their grievances with the church and the government and those who are in leadership. Christ did not stand for that. Christ did not stand for people being arrested without being told why they were being arrested, or for no charges. And Christ definitely did not stand for Christians to stand by while a fellow Christian was being harassed and abused and not do anything about it. So we're calling you out, Christians and churches. So you mentioned in passing, you mentioned Holy Family Basilica. I was going to ask you if you have received any support from any other churches. So let's talk about Holy Family Basilica. Holy Family Basilica, and when we were in the space yesterday, I was saying this, is actually, those of you who've heard me say I was a Christian before I became a non-Christian, that was a church that I went to. That is where I got my confirmation. I have pictures to prove it. So I am familiar with this church. This is where we went for Bible study and your preparation for confirmation. So, for baptism. No, Holy Communion, it was the Holy Communion. So go ahead. Holy Family Basilica and your advocacy.
Before I even go to Holy Family Basilica, at the All Saints Cathedral, it reminded me of the story of Good Samaritan. You remember when I'm not really conversant, because
the rich people passed by and they just saw him and they passed by and they passed by.
Yes.
The Good Samaritan stopped and helped. Yes, that essentially
yes.
is it. Yeah.
So I would actually refer to LSK as the good as the bad guy, because at the church, with all the Range Rovers that I saw, the Mercedes and the elite, the cream de la cream of the country, nobody was bothered to even say like what's happening, or even send their bodyguards. And just because I believe most of them actually had bodyguards, just go and ask what's happening. You see, so it, to some extent, made me question Christianity, but that's a story for another day. I didn't
Or
expect that.
maybe a story for now, because we are holding the church accountable. So go ahead.
So it really made me question Christianity, because the church, I believe that someone would be there and just ask, now with the era of people disappearing, why is the police carrying these guys? Because I strongly believe that if that was probably one of their kids being harassed, then
Yes.
they would come together. Or probably, if, sorry, I'm not a racist, but if it was maybe someone from maybe had a different skin color to it, it would cause attention. But
But
this is
identifying the inequities of racism in society is not being a racist. So there's no way you're a racist acknowledging and knowing and identifying that if that was a white person, things would have fallen apart if they were treated the way you were treated.
yes, and the fact that I had my flag worries me, and they dragged me using like it's literally it was more of them stepping on my on Kenya, you see, and
So even
it's being dragged.
the law enforcement did not respect the flag of Kenya.
They did not they did not respect the flag, because I held on my flag. I held on my flag with my handcuffs tight, but I could not leave my flag, because that's my country. That is what protects me. So I tried. They tried pulling, but I would not. I told them, you rather kill me, but I'm not leaving the flag. Because as long as I leave the flag, then it's like I don't have a life. So
You have abandoned what you're fighting for. Yes.
yes, exactly. I had abandoned whatever I was fighting for, and whatever I was fighting for was my country, to have a better future, for not only for me but for my kid. You see, all this that I'm doing, I'm not doing for myself, but for future generation. Me being a millennial, and also my kid. You see, so yeah, that's it. So back to Holy Family Basilica.
Family Basilica, yes.
So I was really hurt. I was really hurt by the fact that parents cry. That had actually happened when Rex died. Rex Masai was murdered. So, and the church was quiet. The church didn't say a thing. The church didn't say a word.
And just
about it.
quickly, not to interrupt you, Koganda, but just to explain about Rex's death. Rex is one of the Kenyans who was out in the protest, but he was shot from the back. He was not trying to do anything. He was walking away, and the rogue individual that has been, his face has been shown everywhere. So it's not like the government
Yes.
doesn't know who he is.
Doesn't
He
know
can't
him.
be held accountable. He shot him from the back and killed him. So go ahead, Koganda.
So it was really hurting, because I saw, I've been to the morgue, and there's nothing as sad as seeing someone you loved sleeping on the concrete.
Yes.
It pains. It really pains. And I tried imagining if that was me on the floor of a morgue, and nobody talks about it. We didn't have opposition by then. Opposition was already silenced. As much as they tried speaking, but their voice could not be heard. The government was doing literally everything the way they want. You remember Osoro, MP Osoro and Imani Chungwa saying that finance bill will pass whether you like it or not.
Yes.
That was like telling us that, you know what, you don't have a right. We have a right.
You have no
And
power.
yes, you have no powers to do anything. We are in the parliament, and we will pass it. Whether you like it or not, it will pass. And there was a lot of just stamping, and I kept on asking myself, so who is the boss between me and these people? Who put these people in this office? And then there's a lot of things that actually fueled me to go to Holy Family Basilica. One of them, I would say, is Murkomen. I used to work at the airport during that time, and Murkomen would come to the airport wearing a watch, and Kenyans being DCIs, you know them, FBIs, that is.
Murkomen is the member of parliament who was found with
No,
money in Dubai.
He was a CS. He was a CS for
Oh, remind
roads,
me again, cabinet secretary who was found
cabinet
in,
secretary.
yes, who was found in Dubai with loads of money, millions of Kenya shillings in his bag.
Yes.
Okay.
So we used to have blackouts at the airport,
Mm.
lots of them. Yet the minister would come branding a watch of about 5 million or 10 million. If you saw on my placards, those were some of the things that actually fooled me when I was telling them that I can't be funding your 5 million watch. Yet
Yes.
some of our kids are going hungry. Yet you're having a 5 million watch in your hands. Yet you have a phone on your phone, as in
A clock
a
on your foot.
watch. Yes, a clock on your phone. So what's it? And you come to the TV and brag and tell you I'm wearing a tie worth 300,000, a belt worth 2.5. Yet you sit again and ask yourself, how much does this person earn?
So in
Like the
other
salary?
words, if we shook down Murkomen, took his watch, took his suit that he was wearing that day, took his bag, we would be able to pay for the renovations for JKIA.
You'd be able to buy a generator.
Right, but at least we would be able to put a percentage towards the renovation of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. I'm taking this back to the fact that Kenya is claiming they're giving the contract, they're leasing the airport to Adani to renovate because they have no money. Yet you have someone who was responsible for making sure that there's money going to the renovations and the maintenance of the airport, stealing and buying expensive clothing and expensive items of wear, and carrying money in his bags in the millions of Kenya shillings.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the image he portrayed. I'm not able to substantiate if the money that he had was actually from the airport, but definitely his salary, what we know what he earns, doesn't
Yeah.
match the life he stays. That is why we actually have the life audit, right?
Yes.
You can't be telling me an example that I always use. I can't go and buy a car for, let's say, 5 million or 10 million, yet I'm earning 20,000. You see, I'll only go to buy a car for 20.
The government will
Yes,
stop you if you
but
do.
yes, I remember sometimes back I had some money in my account, and I was actually being questioned where my source of the source of the money. I remember that vividly. That was in 2021. I had some amount of money that I'd made from sales of cars. I was a car broker, so I made a few sales from cars, and I had to tell the bank manager with the fraud unit that this is where I get my money, and that is when they had frozen my account. And after telling them this is where I get my money, this is it, literally how I make my money, then my account was unfrozen. See?
Yeah.
So for them, it was sad. Back to what I was saying, it was sad that someone would be able to walk with a watch of 5 million, 10 million, and rub it on your face and tell you that, yes, I'm having a watch, I'm having a belt, I'm having a shoe worth 300,000. Yes, if we don't have any problem if you're wearing all those, but if the systems work, we don't care. You can wear even shoe worth 10 million. We don't have a problem. But the system can't be messed up. And you're bragging to us that you're wearing a watch of 10 million or 5 million. Yet a few months ago, you could not afford that. You see. So those are the small things that actually attributed me to going to Holy Family Basilica. So I went just to let the church know that their honeymoon with the oppressor was over. That was the message that day, that your honeymoon with the oppressor is over. And also, before the demonstration, Holy Family Basilica had locked us out. The previous demonstration that Rex died, Holy Family Basilica.
You are at Holy Family Basilica. You are talking about the church. This Rex has been killed, and this is why you're all there, because the church has said nothing about it. and they've locked you out. So take it from there, please.
So the church on the previous Mandamano that Rex had actually died. A few of the comrades complained. I was not around that area, but what's online were that Holy Family Basilica had locked us out. As I said earlier, that I believe the church is a place where you find refuge, you see. And that's why even on the humanitarian laws, we believe that when someone goes to the mosque, the church, the hospital, they're not supposed to be killed when they're
Yes.
there.
Yes.
These are people, moral people who've said, like, we've surrendered, you see. But when someone goes to church, he's trying to get access to the church and you're trying to deny them, then it's literally telling them, you know what, go die there.
Yeah.
So that was really painful. And I tried linking it to that. I know Rex was not murdered around that area, but literally I was saying, if probably there was someone around there, the church, and who was trying to run to the church, he would have been murdered at the gate of the church, trying to enter the church. And it reminds me on the fateful day when we stormed the parliament, one of the senior officers ran into Holy Family Basilica. And I was actually at the Holy Family Basilica. And I'm part of the people who stopped other youths from getting inside the church. You find the clip of the officer running inside the church. And we were telling him, go repent your sins. Those are the words that we told him. Go repent your sins. Because we were really, really angry. And we didn't beat him. And he was smart enough to know that I could not run into the police truck. But if I went to the church, then that is where these people will not attack me. You see, it was one powerful message for me and to others that believe that church is a place where we find refuge. When you're feeling heavy, burdened, you go to church and just kneel down and pray, and you come back. You see, so if there was no church, if there was no Holy Family Basilica that day, that police would be part of the statistics of people who died during Mandamano period. But the church saved him.
But the irony, as we talk about the church, is it appears so far from everything that you're saying that the church is the place of refuge for criminals or those who are harming others, and not for the innocent.
Sorry, didn't hear
So
you.
the church, just given the breakdown of everything that you've talked about, right? The fact that you're reaching out to the churches to give us essentially Kenyans 20 minutes of political education, political awareness, civic education, responsible political education. And the Mandamano, the protests happening, and protesters are running towards the church, but they're locked out. And then specifically, we're talking about Holy Family. And then at around the same time, a police officer who has been out killing, or we don't know whether this particular one specifically killed, but was the one fighting the protesters, runs into the church and he's welcomed with open arms. So for me, given the politicians who are allowed the time, you're not allowed the time to speak. And given this policeman going in and finding refuge, and you innocents not going in and being locked out, it appears to me that the church is a place for refuge currently in Kenya for those who are committing the crimes and not the innocent.
To correct you, the church blocked us on that Thursday before we stormed Parliament on Tuesday. That is when they locked. But when we went to the church, after I went to the church and uttered the word reject finance bill and just gave a press at the church gate and told them that we were watching. And the church issued a statement trying to justify whatever, why they had locked the gate before. You see, why they had locked the gate before. They were saying that there are kids who are learning in the vicinity, and they were afraid that probably the protesters would come, and because we were small kids, yes, there's a school there.
There is a
But
school at
again,
Holy
protesters, yes. But again, the kind of protesters that we had, I would say, are smart protesters. We were not there to harm anybody. You remember the first protest, no property was actually damaged
Yeah.
because
But
we were tribalized. We were united by.
If the church's goal is to protect the students, then why allow this police officer into the church vicinity anyway?
So that one had happened. That one had happened on Tuesday. Now, when the day we stormed the parliament.
Yes.
By then, they had actually issued a statement on that Sunday saying sorry if they had locked. And on 25th that we stormed the parliament, that day actually Holy Family Basilica opened its gates.
But was the school in session?
No, that day, because we had already said we were coming to the parliament, so the school was not in session on that day that we stormed the parliament.
Okay.
And everybody knew that it was going to be huge.
Yes.
So on that day, the gates were opened. That is the same day that the police entered, because that day Holy Family Basilica was really organized. We had like almost 5 ambulances. They had water for us. They had ushers by then. That fateful day. So that is the same day that the police entered the church. I don't know if you are clear on that.
Yes. Thank you for correcting. Yes, we do. You are the one who's experiencing this, so there's no agreeing or not agreeing. You're telling us exactly what you went through. So thank you for that correction. Go on.
So that was really it. And that, for the first time, I saw the hand of church. And it rejuvenated whatever I'd felt for church for the years back. That yes, this is the church that I knew. This is how the church would be. You see, remember when we remember the issue of sorry to take you back. It's not related to this, but you remember when the 2007 violence, the post-election violence, when kids and women were burnt in church.
Yeah.
It still hurts up today.
Yeah.
Why do you think it hurts? It hurts because the church was involved. It hurts because the mention of church, because we all believe that when someone goes to church, they've already surrendered. So many people have died. We've had people die, but that memory still lingers. If you were there in 2007, it still lingers because most people believe, me being a part of them, that when someone goes to church, they've already told you, I don't have anything. It's between me and God, please.
Yes.
That is why it hurts. And the Holy Family Basilica made it that on that fateful that day that we stormed the parliament, it made it look so lively, and it made it look like the church was back to its senses and the honeymoon had already ended. Yes. Yes.
All right. So there's a video, and I don't know if you want to talk about it, where I think it's you holding the flag in the church. So they allowed you to go inside?
No, they did not. So
okay.
On that day, that was the same day I went to the church. So I go to the church. I just go to the church, and when I go to the church, because the church is next to the parliament, there's a lot of police. Plain clothes and Holy Family Basilica, it's almost like a protected area. So you definitely
by the parliament and all that, yes.
Yeah. So I had my placards in my car, and I'm like, if I carry the placards to raise an attention. So the intention was not actually to go in front. So I leave my placards, but as obvious, I always carry my flag in my sling bag.
Yes.
So I get into the church, and God was with me that day, or God was for us that day. So I enter the church at around 11, and there's a statement from the church. They are trying to say or explain whatever had happened on the previous Mandamano, where they blocked guys from entering the church. There's a message from the Archbishop. And then there's a message from the youths. So they start with the message from the Archbishop. They went the one with for the church, and then a statement from the church, and then now they call the youth. And what I knew was, I know I've been to church, and the church has protocol. So sometimes you do a statement, but it's not the statement that comes from your heart. It's a statement that would go through several people, and they would say, remove this, add this, remove this. And sometimes you'd want to speak your heart, but that's not the case. So they call the youths and tell the youths that come and give a statement. So I was just seated in the congregation, and in the church there's a place where the choir, the youths sit. And I knew that because there were like four or five, if I can remember, who had been selected to give their statement. And I believe also that these were the cri de la cream, people who know how to speak, people who know how to articulate. You see, we not just take anybody from Ukonyuma to come and present. So they call them, and then they come to represent, to give a statement. So I joined them, and when I joined them up there, the I don't know how the Catholics call him, like who was running the mass. The guy who was running the mass. Is it the father, or I don't know?
Priest, yes, so they call him father priest. Yes.
So he asks me, "Are you a youth?" And then I asked him, "What kind of a question is that? Do I look like someone's father?" And then he's like, "So what do you want?" Now the others have started. If you check on the clip, the others have started giving their speech. So I'm like, I want also to contribute to this. And then he tells me, we are not allowing you to do that. If you check on the video, you'll see him pushing me.
Oh my goodness,
trying to push me. Check on the video, he's trying to push me not to speak. So he also tells me that, no, you will have to, we're having a press statement outside, so you have to wait until the press statement is out. And then I tell him, no, whatever the youths are speaking, I also need to air my voice.
Yes.
And then he tells me, that is not happening. Those were his words. That is not happening. And then by the time we are talking, we are discussing all this. The others have finished reading their statement. It was a one statement, but several of them like backing it up. So he goes to the mic just to ban me, and then I'm like, I don't have my statement was on my phone. I can't remove my phone to start reading because the church is huge. Nobody will hear me. So I'm like, okay, what do I do? Take my flag, I remove my flag and raise my flag and just say, reject the finance bill, reject the finance bill, reject the finance bill. And lucky enough, the people who were also tired, they were also waiting for the church to speak, and the church was quiet about it.
Yeah, they were clapping. They joined. Yes.
Yes, they clapped. They clapped and they were like, this is very good. This is very good. You've actually spoken our voice. And it made me feel so good because I was actually doing what the church should have done.
Yes.
You see. So goes viral, and then before I know, the service is over, and then now I'm afraid of leaving out because I know I have friends and family members who are in the knees, and then they I know how they operate. Some come to church and just sit and monitor. So I'm like, if I leave here, these guys are going to arrest me.
Yeah.
So before I know, my phone rings, one call after the other, because it was live. It was actually live, being broadcasted on Citizen and KBC and all that. So my father calls, and I'm not picking any calls. Sorry, and we go outside. When we go outside, the youth now call me back, and we need to give a statement.
Yeah.
So they want to ride on this to make it look like I'm part of the church.
Yes.
I'm part of the church youth. That's how I read it. So they're trying to make it look like, because whatever I did had rubbished all, or sorry to use that word, but it had watered down
their orchestrated
their speech. Yes. So it had watered all that down. So they want me to be like part of them. So they call me again. Citizen calls me, NTV and KTN, to give a speech. And then they give a speech. And then when I'm about to give a speech, you watch if I'm lying. You watch the. When I'm about to give the speech, they start walking again, and then now I tell them I'm not a member of this church, and I'm just here as a concerned citizen and person who believes that church honeymoon with the oppressor should end.
Yes.
So I give out my speech, and by then the police are waiting for me outside. I'm looking at police are looking at me, and I'm like, God, just help me here. Sorry for that. So
That's okay.
after that, it was a very short speech. So go outside, get inside my car, lock my car, and drive. Now I deploy the defensive driving. So I drive, call one of my friends. He stays in Mudaiga. He's also called Collins. So I tell Collins, I'm being followed, which that was the truth. I was being followed
Yes.
by a fan police and some private car. So I tell him, I'm being followed. Please just help me open the gate. When I tell you I had enough airtime. So I started talking from all the way from town to Mudaiga. So I tell him, just be next to the gate. When I just enter, close the gate. So I drive,
Yeah.
I try driving as much as the way was taught, dodge traffic, and then Mudaiga. And this private car still follows me. So before I know, I race, enter the gate, close the gate. By the time they're making a blind corner, I was already inside. So I
Nice.
park,
Yeah.
and before I know, I check on the gate. I see them pass. The glass is tinted.
Yes.
They pass. They go up to the end, Chui Road, and then come back. And then that's how it is. And then my family friends start calling me, switch off your phone, switch off your phone. My brother calls me, please, why are you doing that? You're exposing my family, you're exposing our family, and that, like, no, someone had to do it, and
Yes.
I'm happy I did it.
Yes.
So that was it.
And this is what happens. I have had the same accusations from my own family. You have put the whole family in danger. I'm like, what are we supposed to do? Lay down and let the whole country be oppressed? Like, someone's family has to speak up. So how selfish are we to let someone else speak up and their family be in danger? But you want your family to be protected, and yet you don't want to
Yes.
pay the high prices for food. So, I mean, we all have to realize that all of us have to answer to our duty to protect humanity. So
So that actually reminds me of a story of a cat and mice. So where the cat eats mice every day, and the mice are complaining that the cat would finish us one day. So all of them are complaining. All of them are complaining until one day they had a meeting and said, like, who'd put a rope on his neck so that we pull him. But one person had to do that. You see,
yeah,
so it's the same. Like, one person had to put a rope into a church's neck and tell the church that, you know what, whatever you're doing is not right. And probably me and part of people who believe in this cause did that. I don't want to take all accolades on this, but I believe there are also Kenyans who believe on the same, that like Mwambili, who believe that church is the weakest link. Church is what has led us to where we are. Yes.
Yeah. But so just like the one mouse put its life at risk, and the risk is being eaten by the cat to save all the other mice or the rats, right? Just like the one rat put its life at risk to save all the other rats. You and many others are putting our lives at risk to save all Africans, right? All Kenyans. And for those who are, because I have seen Ruto's publicity movement, he has some loyal public servants who are out there on Twitter every day putting out praises. But I see them attacking activists and saying that we are looking for fame. But the rat was not looking for fame. The rat was going to be eaten. And the upside was that all of them would get the cat, destroy the cat, and there would no longer be a risk for them, they would all live happily ever
Yes.
after, as those stories tend to
Yeah.
end. So, first of all, I want to say, as a fellow Kenyan and as someone who is an activist who knows what threat is out there for our lives, I am very sorry you had to encounter what you encountered. Not because it is my fault, but because no one should go through that. I am very sorry that you are in a position where you cannot even trust your own church, you cannot trust your government, you cannot trust those who are held responsible to protect you, the police. The Constitution of Kenya says that the police are there to serve Kenyans. That's what the Constitution says. But lately, we have been seeing that the police are there to protect the criminals, the oppressors, and subjugators, keep us quiet and silent so that the oppressor can go about his oppressing business in peace. And I thank you for coming today to tell your story, because it is important. Again, I've said, the more these things happen behind closed doors, the more these people will get away with them. The more we expose them, the more they cannot get away with them, and the higher the chance of us destroying this system that continues to oppress us are. So, how do you think empowering citizens, because this is your goal, how do you think empowering citizens through the church leads to tangible changes in the quality of leadership in Kenya? I mean, can you share specific examples of how bad leadership has affected communities as part of and your hashtag is Church for Good Leadership, and we're going to put it in the chat.
So I have relatives who stay out of the country, and I would not say that other countries are better than ours, but the truth is, their systems work. Some of the countries, their systems work, and that is because they elect leaders who have their interest at heart. See, so if we don't elect leaders who have our interest at heart, then someone will go to the office, plunder our resources, and don't care about us. And that one leads us back to, if we're educated enough, if the church is there to educate the mass, to teach the mass that when you elect good, you reap good. When you elect bad, you reap bad. Then we'd not be in a situation where we are now as a country. So that all goes back to church. The church is the only place that we have to go back to start afresh. And the church is the only place that I would say would save us from a lot, not less, of all these troubles that we go through as a country and as vulnerable citizens of this country. I believe that campaigns are not done. I've never seen campaigns being done in Runda, Muthaiga. Those are suburbs of Kenya. Runda, Muthaiga,
Very good point.
You never have caravans traversing through Muthaiga, Runda, Karen, but you'd see these caravans in Mukuru, Kwanjenga, the slums.
Yes.
Because they know those are the markets for them to corrupt your mind and buy your votes.
Because they know that those are the people who are desperate financially, who will take any money to side with them. Yes.
Yes. And if the church would use its influence in those places, teach you and tell you that when you vote wisely, you would reap for the 5 years that you vote wisely. But when you're not educated and a politician comes and corrupts your mind and gives you 200 shillings, then you're doomed. Because now currently, like, we have a problem with school fees and medical bills. Those are some of the problems that actually eat our money. For the rich, probably they would go and this is not a war between the rich and the poor, but it's just to tell the church that play your role and make Kenya great again. Make us believe. I think you've said that you no longer go to church, but that doesn't mean that you don't believe in God, right?
Exactly,
you just stop probably going to church. So make us people who are raised in Christian families, who would wake up on Sunday or Saturdays and go to church. Make us believe that church is where it all starts. church is a refuge center where all our hopes are there. That's literally is. And we ask that the church gives us 20 minutes, just 20 minutes. It's not much to ask to teach good governance, to teach ethical leaders how to identify leaders, what are your rights in the constitution. You see, like now we're having a crisis where your MP is there or your leader is in seat, and you can't take them back home because probably most of the masses don't know how to do that, how to recall them. You see, a lot of the masses don't know how to recall them, and this is where the politicians actually ride on, because they know a lot of masses don't know their rights. They don't know the procedure of recalling them back. So they just say, tuwapatie, we give them 5 years. See, but 5 years is a lot. If someone knows, for example, that he's a bad leader and he has 5 years or 3 years, he'll plunder the constituency, he'll plunder the county, because he knows very well, I'm not going back. So it's my time to eat. So they eat as you wait for 2 years, 3 years. Right? Before you know, there's nothing you can do. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, Makomen, it didn't take Makomen but a few months to be able to afford a gold watch on his wrist and have money in his suitcase. So it only takes a few days of access to the sources of the money that they are reaping. So what message would you like to send to Kenyans who may feel powerless or disillusioned given your encounter with the so-called police? And before you even answer this, I was going to, because we want to continue educating. The goal is to continue educating our brothers and sisters. This individual, I was going to say this individual who was at All Saints Cathedral, who had no badge, no identification, and all he had was a gun and didn't even claim to be the police, just immediately started holding you accountable as if they were the police, right? We have mercenaries in our country. We have to realize that. And they are working together with our legitimate law enforcement. So the CIA does not show itself because the CIA is white men, right? The CIA does not show itself on the streets, but the CIA is very much at the Kenyan embassy. The CIA is very much behind computers monitoring the activity that is going on Twitter. So when Koganda goes viral at the Holy Family Basilica, the CIA, the FBI, all of them in Kenya, in Nairobi, are watching all of this, and they work with ATPU, they work with NIS, they work with all factions of the law enforcement. And then you have, under the CIA and the United States government, that they have recruited, and they work with companies like Blackwater, who employ, and again, we've encouraged you to read on Kumbukeni, Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins, who himself was an economic hitman. And he admitted all the things that they used to do. So in that capacity, they employ mercenaries, fellow Kenyans who look like you and I, and they pay them big money to keep you from stopping the activities that they have going on in your country, which is subjugating you, which is exploiting your economy, exploiting your resources, controlling your policies and controlling your leaders so that they can have access to your resources and to your wealth. So let's not be blinded by the fact that that person was operating criminally against the law 100%. So what message would you like to send to Kenyans who may encounter a person like this, who may feel powerless or disillusioned by the political system? How can your initiative help them reclaim the voice and agency through informed voting and civic engagement?
What I learned from yesterday, Sunday's event is never go to war alone.
Yes.
That's what I learned.
Yes.
But the problem again is sometimes you don't share the same ideas or ideologies with people, but probably through social media, you get people who you share the same ideologies. Try martial up with them. Don't go that place alone. Don't go to any place alone because it's risky, as Nduko has said, that they are mercenaries, and they might take advantage of you being alone and disappear with you. And one life is just too many to lose. I also believe so. As much as I'm a political soldier, I believe that one life is just too many to lose. I don't want to be part of the statistics of people who lost their lives trying to fight, yet I didn't use my brain. So I learned that you should not go alone when you're going to such things, and just plan, just have things right. If you need to do inquiries, do inquiries. And the church should support. The church should not see anybody who talks or who raises their voice as their enemy, right? Or any other place of worship. You should not see anybody who questions whatever they're doing as an enemy. Our duty as a Kenyan, our duty as citizens is just to ensure that we live in a better country, a country where systems work, a country where people can talk to each other, you see, and understand, you see, and understand each other and make things work. If things were really working, then I believe I would not be here. I would not be here talking to you, or I would not be going to the churches and demonstrating. Yes.
Exactly. If things were actually working, you would not need to put out the hashtag church for good leadership, because church would already be for good leadership. There would be no need for it. And in fact, you wouldn't even think about it, because you would have the good leadership that is supposed to serve the wananchi of Kenya, that is supposed, now we take it to a bigger scene, to serve Africans and not the interests of imperialists. So I thank you very much. I wish you well-being. And you're right. And I said this in the space yesterday. The best thing you can all start doing on the ground is make sure that every time you show up in crowds. When you are standing there, make sure that you have brothers and sisters right behind you in case something happens that will stop. Don't wait for the Christians. The Christians are not yet on the same page with you. They will stand, as you saw, and watch you be taken away while they are standing there quietly, right? And then they'll walk in church and talk about how you should be like Christ. But again, to the churches, if you're going to stand on the pulpit and preach to us the word of God, then you must start acting in the word of God. You yourself must start showing beyond the Bible and beyond the words that come out of your mouths, through your actions, how we are supposed to be in the way of God and in the way of Christ. So we are holding you accountable. If you're going to allow the criminals that are stealing our money, that are putting up policies that are oppressing us in Kenya, that are meeting or fulfilling the interests of imperialists and subjugating us, then you must allow us also time to talk about, or to be taught about, good governance, to be taught about how that 200 Kenya shillings that we will get will be finished very quickly, and when we choose Ruto, we will be regretting and losing millions of Kenya shillings. So asante sana. Any last words before we say kwaheri to everyone?
My last words would be, the fight is still on. This is just the beginning. The fight is still on until we get Kenya that we all want to be in. I don't want to travel to another country yet. I have a country to build. So until it's done, it's not yet done. Thank you.
Asante sana. And the Kenya Land and Freedom Army, otherwise known as the Mau Mau, said that General Bamyungi, after elections, went back to the forest because he said we had not gotten the freedom that we were fighting for. So I thank you so much, Koganda. Thank your wife and your family for me. Be safe and be